Hello and welcome to another video from Minor Such Toys, Games, Collectibles. And today, well, we're looking at something that's now very old, very collectible, and it's becoming more and more difficult to find, especially in this very first edition version we're looking at today. So we are looking at the 1976 release by Target Books from their Doctor Who TV tie-in series of paperback novels. And this particular paperback novel we're looking at today is of Doctor Who and the 10th Planet, which was the final story to feature the first Doctor, William Hartnell, as portrayed by William Hartnell in the television series, which was a British science fiction television series. It began broadcasting in 1963, and the classic series ran up until 1989. Now, the series was created by Sidney Newman and C.E. Weber and Donald Wilson, and depicts the adventures of an extraterrestrial being called the Doctor, who's part of a humanoid species called the Time Lords, which we find out about 10 years on from the series. The Doctor travels in the universe in a time in time and space, using what is his time traveling spaceship, which is called the TARDIS, which stands for Time and Relative Dimensions in Space, which externally appears as a British police box, as it got stuck in that form back in 1963, when the Doctor and Susan were, let's say, spending a long time on Earth. Now, while travelling, the Doctor works to save lives and to liberate oppressed peoples by combating their foes, and he usually travels with companions, at least one companions, but he's been known to have up to 3 or 4 companions at any one time. Now, the original series, as I said, it ran from 1963 to 1989. There were 7 actors who portrayed the character of the Doctor. The very first was William Hartnell, followed by Patrick Troughton, followed by John Pertwee, then Tom Baker, Peter Davison, Colin Baker, and finally Sylvester McCoy. Now, between 1967 and 1978, large amounts of older material stored in the BBC's various videotape and film libraries were either destroyed or wiped. And this included many early episodes of Doctor Who. And those stories featured the first 2 Doctors, William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton. In all, 97 of the 253 episodes produced during the programme's first 6 years are not held in the BBC archives. Most notably during seasons 3, 4 and 5, from which 79 episodes are still missing. In 1972, almost all episodes then made were known to exist at the BBC, while by 1978, the practice of wiping tapes and destroying spare film copies had been brought to a stop, so that no 1960s episode exists on their original videotapes. All surviving prints being film transfers, though some were transferred to film by editing before transmission and exist in their broadcast form. Now, some of the episodes have been returned to the BBC from the archives of other countries that bought prints for broadcast, or by private individuals who acquired them by various means. Early colour videotape recordings made of off-air by fans have also been retrieved, as well as excerpts filmed from the television screen onto 8mm cinefilm and clips that were shown on other programmes. Some of the episodes exist only in audio format, and there was a run of releases of audio cassettes that the BBC did, trying to fill in the gaps of the missing episodes. Anyway, let's not digress any further. And what we're looking at today is the final story of the William Hartnell era as Doctor Who, and it was the second serial of season 4 of Doctor Who, and it was aired from the 8th of October 1966 to the 29th of October 1966. So the 4 episodes in this serial, each running for 25 minutes. And it, as I say, it was the final episode to feature William Hartnell as a doctor, and it was the very first episode to feature the regeneration, which we saw William Hartnell regenerate into Patrick Troughton. Sadly, only 1 episode still exists in the BBC archives, which is episode 4. The other 3, episode 1, 2 and 3, are missing, which is a shame really. However, the video cassette has been redone into animation, so if it is something that you want to get, I think it's still available on animation. Anyway, let's not digress any further. This is the book we're looking at today, and this is the front cover, and it says Doctor Who, the 10th Planet by Gerry Davis, the first Cyberman adventure, and it's got the Target logo at the top there. Okay, let's just flip the book around and read what we got printed on the back. Okay, so I've turned the book around. This is what we got on the back. So it says, the sergeant blinked again. 3 lights were moving toward him through the murk of the blizzard. Even as he looked, the lights changed into 3 tall, straight figures, clad in silver armour suits, advancing across the ice with a slow, deliberate step. Horror struck the sergeant, reached for his gun, and a stream of bullets sprayed across the marching figures, but they continued marching. Cybermen have arrived, the first invasion of Earth by this invincible, fearless race, and the last thrilling adventure of the first Doctor Who. And there you can see a little image there with the Cybermen and the first Doctor as portrayed by William Hartnell. UK cover price 40p, Malta was 45 cents, Target logo, and the ISBN number, which is 0426 110684. If we take a look at the spline, it's got again the Target logo there. It says Doctor Who and the 10th Planet by Gerry Davis. Okay, that's the covers. Let's open the book up now and let's have a little look inside. Okay, so I've opened the first page and this is what we got. So it says Doctor Who and the 10th Planet, the changing face of Doctor Who. The cover illustration of this book portrays the first Doctor Who, whose physical appearance was later transformed when he discarded his worn-out body in favour of a new one. And there's also available in Target series, which is other books. So you've got the Doctor and the Daleks and the Zarbi, the Crusaders, the Auton Invasion, the Cave Monsters, the Doomsday Weapon, the Day of the Daleks, the Demons, the Sea Devils, the Cybermen, the Terror of the Autons, Curse of Peladon, the Abominable Snowman, the Green Death, Planet of the Spiders, the 3 Doctors, the Loch Ness Monster, and the Dinosaur Invasion. So the book is sold subject to the condition that it shall not be way of trade, be lent, resold, hired out, or otherwise disposed of without the publisher's consent in any form of binding or cover other than that in which it is published. Doctor Who and the 10th Planet, based on the BBC television serial Doctor Who and the 10th Planet, by Kit Pedler and Gerry Davis, by arrangement with the British Broadcasting Corporation, and Gerry Davis, who novelised the book, and you've got the Target logo at the bottom there. Okay, next we've got here, first published simultaneously in Great Britain by Tandem Publishing Limited and Alan Wingate Publishing Limited, 1976. The ISBN number is 0426 110684. Text of book, copyright Gerry Davis and Kit Pedler, 1976. Doctor Who series, copyright British Broadcasting Corporation, 1976. Target Books was published by Tandem Publishing Limited, 14 Gloucester Road, London, SW74RD, a Howard and Wyndham company. Printed and bound in Great Britain by Richard Clay, the Chancellor Press Limited, Bungay in Suffolk. So there we go. So it's the first edition, this one. Contents, we've got the Space Tracking Station, Disaster in Space, the New Planet, Mondas, the Cybermen Invasion, Ben into Action, Battle in the Projection Room, 250 Spaceships, Z-Bomb Alert, Prepare to Blast Off, Cybermen in Control, Resistance in the Radiation Room, and the Destruction of Mondas. Okay, and we've got here now the creation of the Cybermen. Centuries ago, by our Earth time, in a race of men on their far distant planet of Telos, sought immortality. They perfected the art of cybernetics, the reproduction of machine functions in human beings. As bodies become old and discarded, they were replaced limb by limb with plastic and steel. Finally, even the human circulation and nervous systems were recreated and brains replaced by computers. The first Cybermen were born. Their metal limbs gave them the strength of 10 men, and their inbuilt respiratory systems allowed them to live in the airless vacuum of space. They were immune to cold and heat and immensely intelligent and resourceful. Their large silver bodies became practically indestructible. Their main impediment was one that only flesh and blood men would have recognized. They had no heart, no emotions, no feelings. They lived by the inexorable laws of pure logic. Love, hate, anger, even fear were eliminated from their lives when the last flesh was replaced by plastic. They achieved their immortality at a terrible price. They became dehumanized monsters, and like human monsters, down through all the ages of Earth, their lives and substituted another goal: power. Later forced to leave Telos, the Cybermen took refuge on the long-lost sister planet of Earth, Mondus. So, Episode 1, the Space Tracking Station. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole book because obviously there's many pages. We just read this first page down to here, I think. It says the long low room housed 3 separate rows of control consoles and technicians and resembled Cape Kennedy tracking station in miniature. At one end, the interior of a space capsule had been projected onto a large screen. The astronauts were seated at the capsule controls. The science is a familiar enough one to TV watchers, but the attentive viewer would have noticed that the tracking station's ceiling was a little lower than that of Houston or Cape Kennedy, and that more of the technicians wore uniforms. What he would never have guessed, looking around at the flushed, sweating men in the singlets and open-neck shirts, was that immediately before the ceiling lay 6 feet of ice, and above that the blizzard-swept wastes of the snowy Antarctic. The tracking station, codenamed Snowcap, was situated almost exactly over the South Pole. One other console, slightly raised above the others, faced the 3 rows of technicians. Behind it sat the 3 men responsible for the safe operations of Space Tracking Station Snowcap. General Cutler, the American soldier in charge of a predominantly military installation. Dr. Barclay, an Australian physicist, and Dyson, an Englishman and senior engineer of the base. Okay, so I'm not going to read any more, but basically it gives you the story as we've found out. I don't think there's any illustrations in this book. I think it's all text. Yeah, so there's no illustrations in the book. It just literally is all text, and you can see it runs right up to page 141. Okay, let's read that last page. The man stretched himself and swung his legs over the edge of the cradle. He stood up and looked down at his hands and legs with a certain pleasurable satisfaction. He said, not bad. He flexed his arms, not bad at all. He turned to Polly. You haven't got a mirror by any chance? Polly looked at him in amazement. The one thing that the old doctor never had any time for was mirrors. The only mirror on the TARDIS was in fact a small battered metal one in her back pocket. She drew it out and handed it over. The man took the mirror and held it up. He examined his face. Yes, he said. Pretty fair. All told. He nodded and smiled pleasantly. I think I'm going to rather like it. You didn't answer her question, said Ben, plucking up courage and moving towards his fists bunched. Who the heck are you? And what are you doing here? The stranger looked at him in slight surprise. You asked me that, Ben. Don't you recognise me? The doctor's 2 companions shook their heads. I thought it was quite obvious again, he smiled. His gently mocking smile and winked at him then with his blue-green eyes. Allow me to introduce myself then. I am the new doctor. There we are. So then we got Stay on Target. Here are details of other exciting Target titles. Investigating UFOs, Arthur of the Britons, The Mounties Massacre in the Hills, Doctor Who and the Ice Warriors. And then there's a free Target badge and free entry into the Target draw. Okay, that is the Doctor Who and the 10th Planet first edition paperback novel from 1976. Okay, so now you're going to say to me, well, how well do these books do? well, I've got to say, the book's done fabulously well. Obviously, at that time in 1976, there's no such things as video cassettes, DVDs, streaming services, nothing like that. Once the TV series had aired on the TV, it had been done, gone. And because of how frequently Doctor Who was being made at the time, I think it was a year-round television series that was running. I can't remember exactly how many episodes were produced, but they were filming pretty much for 48 weeks out of the year. So it was a ongoing television series in the early. I don't think that changed until the Pertwee era. So I think the first two Doctors had to cope with a long working time without any breaks. So once the serial had aired, that was it. It was then shelved. I don't even think they did reprints, repeats of the early episodes back in the day. Once they were shown, they were shelved. I think that some of them, they did get sold. Some of them did get sold abroad, but generally, if you missed the episode, well, you missed it. I think occasionally they might have re-shown some of the episodes, but not very often. Once they had been transmitted and gone, they were gone. Hence the reason why the BBC started to wipe the videotapes that were held at the BBC archives. So the only way to really re-enjoy the earlier episodes was by these Target novels, and Target came up with a great idea of redoing the episodes, the early episodes, or episodes that have aired on television in book form, and they had a lot of the writers of the TV serials either novelise their own episodes or novelise somebody else's episodes, so that they were available for everybody to read. And obviously they were mass produced, and obviously they've done certain or different impressions. So the one we're looking at today is the very first impression, but then there was a second and third and I think a fourth impression of this particular book. But obviously the most collectible are going to be the first editions. They're always more collectible than the second, third or fourth impressions of the same novel. So yes, they done rather well. The numbers produced were huge, and being that they produced them for a second, third and fourth one, obviously the demand was still there for a very long time. Okay, let's move forward to 2025, which is where we are today. So we're moving forward almost 50 years. Do these books come up for sale very often on the platforms? Well, yes, Target novels do feature prominently on the platforms. Not so much the first editions. You do find a lot of the reprints on the platforms, even though the reprints are quite old. You're still talking 70s and 80s, so they are still very collectible. But the first editions are far more difficult to find than the second, third and fourth reprints of the particular novels. I did have a hunt on the platform for this one, and at the time when I looked, I didn't find any other first impressions. There was quite a few of the second, third and fourth impression copies, but the first impression I couldn't find any. That's not to say that they don't pop up from time to time. I'm sure they do, but when I looked, I couldn't find any other than the later versions. So yes, they do come up on the platforms, various different states of condition again, so do be very, very careful when you're buying on the platform, because somebody's idea of very good condition could be somebody else's idea of acceptable condition. There is a big scope of differences there between people's opinions. And don't forget, some of the platforms use stock images and stock descriptions, so do be aware of that. If it doesn't say, you could be looking at a mint condition book with mint condition text. However, if it doesn't say new on the page and it only says used, do click that used link and read what you're about to order. Otherwise, you could very well be disappointed when the item arrives. It is a little bit silly the way the platform works, but unfortunately that is the way they're designed to work. So if there's no new available, it automatically goes to the cheapest used. And that, as I say, that might not be what you want. So do be careful. Or alternatively, you can come straight to us at Minus Touch Toys, Games, Collectibles, where what you see in front of you is exactly the item you would receive should you wish to order. And this particular item is no different to that. And as of today, this first edition version of the Target Doctor Who The 10th Planet novelisation is available to purchase on the Minus Touch website, which you can get to very simply by clicking the link below. It'll take you straight to the website where you'll be able to find this and many other Doctor Who items. And many other vintage toys, games, and collectibles come to that. There's over 10,000 products currently available on the website for you to view and purchase at your leisure. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because we're uploading videos for every new item that goes into the website. There will be something for everybody. And I'm absolutely positive this is something that you're not going to want to miss, because we literally have thousands and thousands of new items, which we're shooting videos for and uploading on a daily basis. So if there is something in particular you're looking for, something old you've never been able to find, something quirky that you might want to buy for a friend, or perhaps just something from your childhood that you'd like to own again to help you recuperate those long lost childhood memories. Well, stay tuned, keep watching, just never know the next item we upload could be that item you've been looking for. Okay, that is it for me on this particular item. I do hope you've enjoyed reviewing this wonderful, wonderful vintage first impression Doctor Who and the 10th Planet Target novelisation book by Gerry Davis with me. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next video. So bye for now.